New York waited for this for a long time, a very long time. The city erupts, confetti falls, blue and orange are everywhere. People are hugging strangers, fans are climbing light poles, the streets are packed, and right in the middle of all of it is Spike Lee, one of the most recognizable fans in sports. For decades, Spike has been a fixture at Madison Square Garden through the good years, through the bad, through playoff runs, through heartbreak, through hope. Spike was there, courtside, and watching the celebration got me thinking about him. Because according to reports, Spike Lee has spent millions of dollars on Knicks tickets over the years. Some estimates put the number around $10 million. $10 million. And that got me thinking, not about basketball, not about fandom, about ownership. Because what if one of the greatest fans in sports history had also been one of the owners? What if every year, alongside the tickets, Spike bought shares? Most famous Knicks fan had been building ownership in the business behind the team he loved. That question sent me down a rabbit hole. This is the capitalist activist, where consumers become owners. Before everybody jumps in the comments, let me say this. If Spike is courtside, I want Spike courtside. This isn't a video about what Spike did wrong. As far as I'm concerned, Spike Lee is part of the Knicks experience. He's part of New York. He's part of the story. So this isn't criticism. This is curiosity. Because according to multiple reports, Spike Lee spent roughly $300,000 a year on Knicks tickets. Over the years, that spending has estimated to be around $10 million. And honestly, good. Life is meant to be lived. Experiences matter. Community matters. Sports matters. Joy matters. The memories are real. This video isn't about whether Spike should have bought the tickets. He absolutely should have. The question is different. The question is, what if Spike also bought ownership? In 2010, Madison Square Garden became a standalone, publicly traded company after being spun off from Cablevision. That matters because for the first time, ordinary investors could buy ownership connected to Madison Square Garden, the Knicks, and the business behind one of the most valuable sports brands in America. Ownership became available. And while everybody was celebrating the championship, I found myself doing something a little different. I opened Robinhood. Not because I wanted to ruin the moment. I wanted to understand who owned what I was celebrating. So I pulled up Madison Square Garden Sports, ticker symbol MS, and I started scrolling backwards, way backwards. Back through the playoff runs, back through the ownership changes, back through the years of Knicks history. And then I saw something interesting. The stock appeared to be trading around $19 a share back in 2021. $19? Not 19. And as I recorded this video, MSGS was trading at roughly $370 per share. So naturally, I started doing the math. If Spike Lee's reported annual ticket budget was around $300,000, and if that same $300,000 had been invested when the shares were around $19, that first year alone could have purchased roughly 15,400 shares. Hear me? 15,400 shares. Just from one season, 1 year, one reported ticket budget. Now, let's fast forward. At roughly $370 per share today, those shares alone would be worth approximately $5.7 million. Let's say that again. Not the value of decades of investing. 15,400 shares just from one season, 1 year, one reported ticket budget. Now, let's fast forward. At roughly $370 per share today, those shares alone would be worth approximately $5.7 million. And that's where the question gets really interesting. Because Spike didn't go one season. He went to decades of season. So what happens if we extend the thought experiment? We don't know exactly what years Spike purchased tickets. We don't know exactly what years he would have invested. This is an estimate, not a precise financial calculation, but if a fan invested roughly $300,000 a year over the same period, ownership was available. That ownership position could potentially be worth more than $20 million today. Not sitting courtside as a fan, sitting courtside as an owner. But the $20 million isn't actually the most important or interesting part, at least not to me, because ownership isn't just about wealth. That's the part people miss. Ownership is participation. Ownership is influence. Ownership is agency. A fan gets a seat in the arena. A shareholder gets a seat at the table. Now, let's be realistic. Even a $20 million position wouldn't make Spike Lee the owner of the Knicks. It wouldn't give him control of Madison Square Garden. But ownership changes your relationship to an institution. And that's where things get interesting. Because Spike already has influence. He's one of the few people whose voice carries weight with the Knicks and New York and sports culture. When Spike speaks, people listen. When Spike shows up, cameras show up. When Spike has an opinion, it becomes news. Ownership wouldn't replace that influence. It would add another dimension to it, a different kind of participation, a different kind of connection, a different kind of stake in the future of the institution. And that made me think, what if ownership became more common? What if thousands of Knicks fans own shares? What if people who love the team also participated in its growth? What if the people who create value through their loyalty also shared in the value through ownership? What if customers became stakeholders? Because ownership isn't only about making money. It's also about having a voice. Shareholders vote. Shareholders participate in governance. Shareholders can support ideas they believe in. Shareholders can advocate for priorities they care about. Imagine if shareholders wanted more youth basketball programs, more opportunity for New York City kids, more internships, more community investments, more partnerships in neighborhoods that support the team. One shareholder alone may not change everything, but ownership creates a pathway to participation, and participation creates influence. We spent generations teaching people how to get a seat in the arena. Maybe it's time to teach people how to get a seat at the table. And that's when I realized this isn't really a story about Spike Lee. Spike is just an example. The real story is about the difference between fandom and ownership. Because most of us are taught how to consume. We know how to buy tickets. We know how to buy merchandise. We know how to buy subscriptions. We know how to support brands. But nobody ever stops and asks, how can I own a piece of this? Can I participate in the growth? Can I benefit from the value being created? Can I become more than a customer? Because ownership changes that relationship. A customer supports a company. A shareholder owns part of it. A fan cheers. An owner participates. And maybe the most powerful position is being both, shareholder, fan. Now, to be clear, I have no idea what's in Spike Lee's actual investment portfolio. He may own MSG stock. He may not. That's really not the point. The point is what ownership makes possible. What happens when the people who love something also own a piece of it? What happens when fans become owners? What happens when the customers become shareholders? What happens if you own a piece of it? This is the capitalist activists, where consumers become owners. We don't just invest to make money. We invest to make change. Own what you consume.